Hi y'all, I'm Amy. I'm going to be your at-home art instructor for the day. I'm really excited about this group project. I hope you are too. In this video you will find an explanation about said project and all the tips that I use on a daily basis to make my art. So with that said, let's get started. Hey there everyone! So if you are watching this video, your design is the puzzle pieces. First things first with this, you want to make sure that it is on the right orientation. So on the back, each one is labeled with either, each one will have a letter and a number, and that shows the placement of where it'll go in the larger design, but it'll also say what your design is. So just make sure that the words on the back are right side up, and that is how you know which direction your design is facing. I don't want you to have to paint it and then it turn out to be upside down. So some of y'all, if not all of y'all, will have a already made design on your canvas. This black line or multiple black lines will interconnect with everybody else's to create one large design when we're finished. So that's really exciting that one little project is going to become so much bigger. Everybody got their own paint colors. These were hand selected for this design. And the things that you will need to get set up to be able to do this is, well, first off, you'll want some type of covering on whatever surface you're using. You could use newspaper. I have an old towel or an old sheet. Just something that you don't mind getting paint on, because it is impossible not to paint without getting paint on everything, at least for me. So get your area nice and covered so it doesn't get paint on it, and then you'll need a jar or a disposable cup, something that you're able to put water in and wash your brushes, because it will also have paint on it. Everything has paint. A rag, you can use a paper towel, you can use old cut up shirts, really just whatever you don't mind never getting to use for anything other than a paint rag again. Of course, your canvas and your paintbrush that came in the packet, your colors, and I use a little piece of glass for my paint palette, but y'all can use the top of a Tupperware container or the bottom. Wax paper, you can get something and cover it in cellophane, just something that won't absorb the paint and that you can mix on. So something that's easy to either clean up or throw away after. A lot of this acrylic paint will peel up off of plastic and glass surfaces. That's why I like the glass. So with that said, first things first is I like to open all of my paints at the same time. Makes it a little easier. Be a little careful when you open them, because it is kind of easy to make the paint go everywhere. And a couple of tips is I like to get my paint out and put it on the paint palette, because if you sit there and mix in between each color, soon your pink's not going to look like a pink anymore. Your yellow's going to turn green. So it's just good to get it all on the board so that nothing mixes with a color that you don't want it to. As you can see, I just kind of scoop it out. See, paint's just going to get everywhere. And the setup takes a minute, but you get all your little colors just the way you want it. Now I just go ahead and leave the black in there, because I use that at the very end to crisp up the details, or to add detail afterwards when the paint's dried, because I like to make my paints darker with different colors and see how I can change the hues of things. So on this canvas, everybody's got this outline here. Nothing here is going to be seen when you're finished, because what happens is when I get all of these designs back, I'm going to connect them so that each one of these lines connects with the next piece and then looks like one large design. So that's going to be too cool that we're each doing something individual to make something bigger. But yeah, so don't worry about painting on the edges. You can go over a little bit. Just remember it won't be seen. And if you've never mixed colors before, I love it. It's so fun. Couple of tips is the yellow and blue is primary color, so those will make green. Purple is a secondary color because it takes blue and red to make it. So you can make a different type of purple using the pink and the blue, because this is essentially our red. When you go to mix or rinse your brush, don't smash the brushes. That messes up the shape of the end of the brush, and then you can't get the nice crisp lines that you'd like. But I just swish it around really good, and then get some of the water off the edge, and then get my paint rag and make sure that it's dry and the brush is clean of no other color. Get some more white on this. Now the fun thing about white is when you go to mix it, sometimes you just want to make your blue a little lighter, but it'll change that blue tone. So if you get it on the canvas and it's more pastel than you'd like, but you needed the white to make it a little lighter, after it's dried, you can come back with just the blue and paint over it some, and it'll pick that color back up. The fun thing about white is it makes your paints become more opaque. So if you're wanting to create something that is covering up a darker color, or you have something underneath it that you don't want to see anymore, use some white on your colors, and it really helps to cover up any imperfections, which is like my favorite thing about painting. You can't do anything wrong because you just wait until it dries and then paint over it and cover it up and you fixed it. But sometimes those little happy accidents look so cool because I don't know how I did them. So sometimes accidents can make your art piece look even cooler. And we discover things about the material as we go when accidents like that happen, and we embrace it. So I like to get just a little bit of water on my brush, just enough to be able to help that paint move on the canvas. Because otherwise, I know this paint doesn't look like there's much of it, but it'll cover this canvas quite a few times when used right. You don't want to just glob it on there. That doesn't let the paint use its full potential, and you don't get nearly as much coverage because it just kind of gloops up and stays in the same place. Plus it's harder to control. So I like steps. I like layers. I like doing it in a strategical way that allows me to control the paint instead of it plopping down wherever it wants. I also like playing with brush stroke. I think that's really cool to get to see. It's like the past history of where the brush has been and how the art became. Let's see. And here, so this design, you can choose. I'm just having fun playing with the color. That's what I like to do. But you can choose to create a pattern, write a poem, do whatever you'd like to make this project your own. If you do want to do something detailed and create a whole scene, I recommend getting your backdrop done, and doing it, like I said, in those layers, because if you try to get all that detail done at once and all your background's still wet, it's gonna run together. You're gonna lose all that crispness and hard work that you put in to get everything looking just the way you want. So again, on here you can mix the colors up as much as you'd like, because you can always go back to this clean, unmixed colors. I hate that when I end up accidentally getting a little bit of blue in my yellow, and then I can't ever create the tone that I want, because it's always going to have a little bit of a green hue. So some other tips: I don't ever use all of my brush. I just put in about, I don't know if you can see that much paint. So it only goes about halfway up. And then even all of that I have, I don't know if you can see it. Ooh, maybe. I made it worse. All that's glooped on there, I'll kind of roll it off to the side so that ultimately there's not that much. I'm trying to make it, of course it's not gonna focus. Maybe you can see it now, sorry about that. So that there's not even that much on it. Because the more paint that's on your brush, the harder it is to get it in the spot that you want. But say you want to make a nice crisp line. I have my brush kind of at a 45-degree angle, and I'm watching, I push it down so that I get just a little bit of resistance, and then I push that paint. I don't use the whole brush, I just use that edge to create the line that I want. So even though it's a square brush, it's pretty versatile. You can do a lot of different things with it. And I just am very careful about what corner I'm using. And you can see that the way that I picked up the paint on the top, so that as I'm doing that line, I'm only spreading a little bit of that paint at a time. Okay, that's enough. Sorry. I get so sidetracked. I love painting. I don't know what I'm making, but I'm just playing with the colors. I recommend to mix your colors over here instead of on the canvas, but sometimes I get a little crazy and like to see what happens and just go ahead and mix it on the canvas. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't, and I have to paint over it after it dries, because I don't always get things right the first time. But that's okay. That's how you learn. Let's see, I'm almost done. I'm gonna get a little bit more yellow. Note how I tried to keep my brush nice and clean in comparison. I'm gonna put the yellow in here. So if that yellow and that purple mix, they'll create a brown because they are complementary colors. Any other time I could have said that. And when you get complementary colors, which means they are on the opposite ends of the color spectrum, so you get the little color wheel, and whatever color's across is its complementary color. They create really nice natural browns, and that's why I like to mix my colors together to create darker tones instead, because it looks more realistic to me. It doesn't just look like everything has a shadow. If you are worried about getting paint on you, as I always am, I recommend wearing something that you don't mind getting paint on you, because it just has a mind of its own. It does whatever it wants. And you don't even know that you got it on you until it's too late. I speak from experience. So once this dries, I'm gonna go back over with that pink and then make it really stand out. You might have to do 2 layers. That's just how it goes with paint sometimes. Every color works differently. And then I almost stuck my brush in that white with the blue on it. That would have been awful. It's old habits. Almost done. This became like a weird sunset, sorta. But so these puzzle pieces, when they all fit together, I can't wait to see what everybody makes, because it's just gonna be so cool. You can paint something that makes you happy. Paint something that you're having the opportunity to get your voice heard. So paint something that's important to you. Or just have fun with the colors. Just explore. Just enjoy making a beautiful mess. Because that is what painting is. It's a very controlled, strategic mess. When I paint, I don't really smush that brush down. You don't want to be mean to your brush, because you want it to last. Which is why you don't smush it down when you rinse it and everything. It's a lot of fun. I love it. Well, that is what I made in this lovely little time we had together. Once it's dried, I might put some stick figures on it or do something. Don't forget to sign your name somewhere in the bottom corner, top corner. Just make sure it's inside your frame so that we see it when it's all done. And I cannot wait to see what everybody does. You might want to use a Sharpie when you sign your name, because these brushes can be a little bit big. Last tip, which I should have said at the very beginning, was if you're gonna try to prep your design beforehand, don't use a pencil or a pen. Those are hard to cover up with the paint. Now, some of your canvases might already have some marks on them and stuff, and that's fine. As you paint on it, those layers gonna make it disappear, but because it's already got some primer over it. But if you have to start from scratch trying to get those lines to disappear again, it's kind of difficult, or it just takes a lot of paint. So with that said, I usually use the lightest color that I have, and I'll just, let's see, I'm gonna put, what do I want to make? I'll make a little bee. So I just get a very light outline with my paint, because the paint's actually easier to cover back up than the pencil. You wouldn't think so, but it is. It's because of the texture of the canvas. And I'll get that little outline in, then let it dry, and then come back and do the real thing, because that way I can cover it up a little easier. So I hope that was helpful. Main things to remember is treat your brush nicely. Try not to contaminate these paints by accidentally sticking the blue into the pink or purple into the white. You use this for mixing. These edges will not be seen when the final design is done. Layers are your best friend. Patience, let it dry, come back, do it some more. That way you get the full effect that your colors can give without having to get everything all muddy because nothing's drying. Missed that. That's why you do the coverings. And sign your name. I hope this has been helpful. I hope you have a lot of fun with it. Enjoy. And I cannot wait to see what y'all make. Have a great day.